You ain't never gonna feel this way. You ain't never gonna know me, but I know you. Singing in our things can only get better. It can only get better if we see it through. That means me and I mean you too. So teach me not to think. Can only get better. It can only get. Take it on from me, you know. I know that things can only get better.
Hello and welcome to the Roker Rapport Podcast. For once we are coming to you with good news. It's crazy, everything's happened in the past couple of days. Coleman's been sacked. We might have a new consortium pending AFL approval. Mick McCarthy's in the northeast buying BMWs. And I'm joined by Connor Bromley. What an exciting day.
Yep, big day. I'm looking forward to this. Not often I look forward to a podcast, but we didn't even get beat this weekend. I don't even think we'll probably talk about that. I think it's all going to be takeover, new managers, Chris Coleman, feeling a bit sorry for him. Goldsmith will turn up at some point as well.
Johnny Goldsmith is due in the studio, but
he thought it was 5:30.
Yeah, he cocked up the time, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's always 5.
Can't be a journalist if you can't keep time.
Well, he's not. He's a radio journalist, isn't he?
Different.
It's a bit different.
Radio, the one where they have to be on air at a certain time. Yeah.
Yes.
Timekeeping's important.
Yes, timekeeping is important. Right. Anyway, so Stewart Donald looks to be heading a consortium. Ellis Short has written off the debts owed to him to make this deal go through. It's pending approval. You spoke to some Eastleigh commentator guy.
Yep.
Who was relevant to Eastleigh, I'm sure.
Well, he's the commentator, yeah. Knows him well.
What did he say about Stewart Donald?
He was very, very positive. Very negative from his perspective. He thinks Stewart Donald's probably the best thing since sliced bread for Eastleigh. He's turned that club from a team that played in front of 200 people to a team that plays in front of 3,000. He has incentives for fans. He does 4 free games a season just to try and build up the support. I know that's probably not something that translates to Sunderland, but you could see that as being, ticket deals where for 4 games a year, you take the kids for free, all that sort of crap. Away support, he pays for the travel for away fans, travels with the away fans, drinks with them in the pubs before the games, knows them on a personal one-to-one basis. Obviously, our away support's probably more considerable than theirs, so you might not be able to do that, but could be one of them where he does, sit in with the fans for away games. I think he's going to be the sort of owner or chairman who is going to be visible. We're going to see a lot of him. He's going to be very different Ellis Short.
He looks like he's going to be kind of, obviously he's going to have an investment, but he looks like he's going to be like the Niall Quinn figure, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think
like the front of house.
Yeah, I did ask Ian that yesterday. Ian's the commentator I spoke to, and I don't think he knew enough about sort of Niall Quinn's role at Sunderland. But I got the impression that's the kind of owner he's going to be. He's going to be hands-on in the sense of, wanting to know what's happening, but not, meddling with tactics, meddling with the manager. I mean, his managerial record, something that does slightly concern me is the fact he has went through 5 managers, I think, in 3 years, which is a bit worrying. But on the flip side, if it's not working, it's not working. He has had big-name managers for that level. Ronnie Moore's been a manager there who he's managed it, Rotherham, Hartlepool, Tranmere, amongst others. Martin Allen's been there as well, and he's managed, Leicester before, and the big name appointments for that level. So he obviously has a pulling power that is.
But are you? What do you think about his pulling power in terms of a club the size of Sunderland? Because when the news first broke, I knew he had something to do with Oxford before as well, and Eastleigh. I immediately thought, and this was just initial reaction, this is a bit tin pot. does he have the money? Because I think his net worth is only about 7 or 8 million. I understand he's heading a consortium, but does he have the necessary experience to take on a club like Sunderland? Possibly, but I think it's going to be a big step for him.
I think it will, but think about it is, if he was a manager, he's essentially done a very good job at a lower league club, and he's now taking that step at League One. Because if he's going to be more the front, I don't know how much of his personal wealth is going to be involved, but if he's more the front for all of this, then it sort of is. It is more like a role, and he's got experience now. He's proved himself at a lower level, and he needs to translate that to the high level. But the investors have obviously contacted him and thought that he was going to be, somebody good to run the club, who could run it effectively. By all accounts, he's done that easily. He's done all the right things. He's worked with the community, built up the stadium, built up the training facilities. Apparently, he's invested £10 million in Eastleigh. So I don't know how much he's worth. You can't find much on him on the internet. I mean, he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page and stuff, which is the instant thing that you do is Google it, and check what he's worth, and you struggle to find sort of anything on him. He seems to be quite, although open with a lot of things, I think his finances and business interests, I think, are reasonably on the down low. Interestingly, though, he was brought into Eastleigh by Glenn Hoddle. Yeah. Which is curious, because I know Glenn Hoddle's got his, critics, but he's a big football person. He knows what he's talking about, I would say, the majority of the time, and he brought him in, so you must have something about him for that to happen.
Yeah, and Eastleigh FC have nothing but praise for the man, really. Everyone's really supportive of him, and as you mentioned earlier, the link between the Eastleigh fans and chairman is something we haven't had at Sunderland for a long time, and the fan base is down, to say the least. Just how vital could that be? I'm getting WhatsApp messages. We need somebody to come in and who has experience of.
Oh, there's Goldsmith.
Oh, here's Goldsmith.
He's coming in. Where is he? Come in, Goldie. We're recording already.
He's late. Come on. Look good. I've just realised I didn't do the 3-word review either.
Do it now.
I'll do it now. Oh. So we asked, give us your 3-word review of the Takeover stuff, the departure of Chris Coleman, and the rest of the crack from this past weekend.
Who are Michael Martin?
Fuck Michael Martin's a better one. Right, Jed and White said Shorts Bank Redemption. Hazy said better times ahead. A Beavers said why sack Coleman. Alex J McCain says third division demolition. Jake Hanna says nailed on Invincibles. Lee Taylor says tears for Coleman. Lee Taylor says incoming McMack. Joseph Gorman says get the cans. Dan Nicholson says where's the catch. Shane Hagan says love Sunderland me. Cameron Johnson says want full stop Coleman full stop back. Bartel says classic fucking Sunderland. Crawling King Snake says they're not Irish. And Rhys Benson says League One champions. How likely is that to happen, do we think?
No idea. I think one of the things that we do need to take is not just be full blown optimistic, because if it's an investment firm that is getting involved, then they're not doing it for the love, they're doing it for purely business reasons. And I think while Stewart Donald seems to be the sort of guy who does lead with his heart and is passionate, you don't know what the business interests are of that company. So I think there's got to be a little bit of trepidation. You've got to be not fully positive. I mean, one thing they have done is they seem to have got rid of Chris Coleman without speaking to him, which I don't think sits well with me, and it probably doesn't sit well with you guys either.
It doesn't sit well with me, and I think we should put on record our thanks. I mean, Chris Coleman or his wife Charlotte or Sonny probably not going to listen to this podcast, but if anybody
if they do,
and if anybody knows him, I'd like to put on record our thanks for his dignity, sticking with us when he didn't have to, taking the job in the first place. Crucially, he never turned on the fans or blamed anybody but himself. He acted with he was just a nice guy, wasn't he?
He acted with class.
He put on he put belief into the fans again. I think like a small little bit of belief, and he believed in himself. And you need to start from there. Start believing in yourself as a manager, and that would eventually go into the players. It didn't work out, unfortunately, but I think
he had a poor record really in the grand scheme of things. I can understand why the new owners did think, right, okay, this guy hasn't done a great job, but he's working in hard circumstances, and I think it's difficult to judge. I don't think Chris Coleman will be judged by other clubs off this run at Sunderland. I think it was.
I'd like to think that he's still a legend in my eyes for what he did for Wales. He'll always be a legend in my heart.
I mean Chris Coleman.
No, he will be. That's for what he did for my country cannot be understated. Even if it didn't work out for me club name.
I mean Coleman, I think, as I say, he's good at talking, good at motivating, but he just didn't have a good enough team to make that motivation work on the pitch. And so, obviously, the record that he had was worse than Simon Grayson's, I think. And
no, his record was better.
Was it?
Yeah, just.
Okay. Right.
I was doing all that. I actually wrote an article for the site that was going. Finished it on Sunday morning, and it was going to be published on Sunday night. And then Sunderland, literally about half an hour after I finished Sunderland, Chris Coleman's gone.
How many words was it?
The fact he literally.
It was quite long. I mean, I'd interviewed Danny Collins, Paul Thirlwell, Ian Mater about whether or not they thought he should stay. Did a Twitter poll, did sort of a bit of my reaction, and then. Obviously, it's now just worthless. It's just going to be in the archives of Roker Rapport and never ever used or for anyone to see other than me.
Shite.
I think that when Chris Coleman was sacked and then a few minutes later, the new owners have been announced, I think it's like they must have agreed we don't want him, basically. We must have someone else in mind that they thought, well, yeah, we'll take over, but we want him going first or something like that. I mean...
Well, there's rumours of an £80,000 a week contract, which I don't think it can be true.
I know we've been told sort of with authority that it is, but 80 grand a week.
We get told a lot of things with supposed authority that turn out not to be true, though.
That's true.
I mean, they're doing that. That's the thing. I mean, that's the way it should be in sense of the manager getting paid more than the players.
I disagree. 80 grand a week is absolutely preposterous. If he's on 80 grand a week, then it shows how bad the previous regime was, because the 80 grand can be invested in so many. If they can't afford to buy a player, I mean, if Coleman's whinging about a transfer budget and he's on 80 grand a week, then that's why we can't afford players. He
wanted to take a pay cut, didn't he? So that could have been bad. Anyway, Sunderland did a very good job of trolling us, I thought, when this news broke, because it was announced that Coleman and Kit Simons had been released from the contract, and I went absolutely fucking potty and started calling Ellis Short every cunt name under the sun. And then 20 minutes later, we had a new Takeover deal in the offing, and everyone was made to look a bit silly, really.
Yeah, no, I think
it was a balmy afternoon.
We all, I think everyone was, getting
everyone was rotten coal, Short's a dick, and then 10 minutes later, everyone was, he's actually a nice guy if he's written off the debt.
Yeah, I actually looked at that
Thank
tweet.
you, Ellis.
I wrote a tweet saying, it's interesting how you can sack Chris Coleman and still employ Jack Rodwell, who's on 70 grand a week, and then I don't know what's going to happen with him, but anyway, then a new owner come in, and then he wiped off the debt, as I say, and it's so. Can fans stop slagging him off now? Because he did actually do us a favour in the end.
I must point out that you must put a pound in the swear jar that we don't carry around all of the time with us, just in case some certain Twitter user goes off with it.
The thing is about the writing off the debt. I know it looks very good on paper, but I think
he could have done it. He should have done it before. If he was going to write off the debt, then he could have done it.
I mean, if he can do it now, then I guess you could say so why didn't you do it last season?
I don't think he has written off the debt. I think the debt, he has technically written off the debt, but I think in terms of that the takeover deal, while knowing nothing about it, I believe that there'll be clauses in there that will essentially give him some of that money back, because there's no way you would write it off yourself, because he's put the club in a position now. If he just said, right, okay, I'm writing off that 100 million, it's gone, and just took the club from scratch himself in League One, he would have been able to take it up into the Championship and probably sell it for more money next year, and he didn't do that. So obviously there's an incentive for him to write off the debt, and I think the incentive probably was that he'll get bonuses for when we do receive promotion, probably a percentage of the sale. If we are taken over by an investment firm, the idea is they're going to be sold within 5 to 8 years.
In a better position than we are now.
So I bet you there's a percentage of that's going to be involved in in the takeover. So Short will maybe take 20% of that, and all that'll add up, and eventually he probably will still be out of pocket. But I think it's been cleverly portrayed to make it look like Ellis Short's paid off all the debt, when I don't believe that. I think there's far more that meets the eye to that deal. I don't think it's been a simple case of, I'll have the club for free. We're not going to learn how much the takeover price is, if there is a price.
What's hilarious for me is that the fact that the notorious Martin Bain was blissfully unaware that a takeover was even happening. He wasn't kept in the loop. He was as shocked as everybody else, which I find absolutely hilarious.
But that also, I know we're not big Bain lovers, to say the least, but that also puts in how difficult his job must have been. If Ellis Short is selling the club behind his back and he's meant to be running the club on a day-to-day basis, how much did he know about the things that were going on? He must have had absolutely no clue.
No, I think day-to-day running, he was the man that knew everything, but obviously Short's the one that decides to sell the club on.
But to sell it without even giving him a whisper.
But it's funny, and it doesn't mean that Martin Bain wasn't in control of the day-to-day running the purse string. But I mean, obviously, Ellis Short controlled the money coming in.
I think I wish Martin Bain, I know he might write a bias book, but I wish he would write a book on this 2 years he's had at Sunderland, because I bet he's got some stories and things that he's had to do and his dealings with Ellis Short, because I just kind of understand how, if it's true that he didn't know the club was getting sold like that, even if you are just running it on a day-to-day basis, you must get an inkling. Like, Short would have went, oh, something might be happening tomorrow. And he didn't. That just seems crazy to me. He obviously,
Martin, I've sent you an email. Could you please release the statement on the club's Twitter?
Yeah, exactly. Well, probably that's exactly what it was.
Can you tweet something like...
Hopefully this signals the end to Martin Bain now, because surely he can't. If they're letting Coleman go for 80,000 a week because it's too much, then surely Martin Bain's salary will go as well.
I don't know how much he's on, but yes,
it's quite a lot.
I think there'll probably be a transition period. I think Bain will probably stay on until they get all the back, the.
I think I heard that they were going to bring in like a director of football sort of situation, like manager and director of football.
Well, that's what they have at Eastleigh. At the minute at Eastleigh, it's Richard Hill, who was the manager there. He's currently running the director.
We have got to get back to like a good, solid football setup, because we can talk about business all we want, but we need footballing people involved. Otherwise, the business won't grow, because the results on the football pitch won't be good.
Well, I think Stewart Donald, one of the things that he doesn't have to worry about, which he did at Eastleigh, is he had to worry about building the facilities and building the training ground and building up the stadium. And now the infrastructure is all there, and everyone will tell you that the infrastructure at Sunderland on paper is very good. Facilities are very good, but the problem is that they didn't have any good, football.
The burning question, though, is will he get rid of the pink seats?
I think that's a good marketing campaign.
Massive PR coup if he does that. First thing through the door, give me them red seats. There'll be renewals all over the place. I'll renew. If he comes in and says, have a red seat, I'll renew.
I think it'd be interesting to see how many people do renew, especially if they do spend a little bit of money in the summer. And I think that the expectation is certainly from the fans, and I presume the new owners is they are going to spend, and we're going to have the biggest budget in the league next year.
But we only need about 5 million to have a really good League One team. Yeah, and about 6 million buys you probably the best League One team has ever been.
And they need to watch what other teams did. And Southampton went through a similar process. They were a bit worse off financially, but they eventually got taken over. They bought Ricky Lambert, and he was Morgan Schneiderlin went when they were in.
Grant Holt was down there with Norwich as well, with Norwich. Yeah.
But the thing is, you buy them players, and they need to be players that can grow with your team.
Well, Jamie Vardy for Leicester. Did they not get bought in League One as well?
I think it was just when they went up, but it's a similar point.
He played in League One with Fleetwood, didn't he? Or was that League Two? Anyway, he's been down there.
I think he was in the conference. No, he was bought from the conference. It was before Fleetwood went up. He's the first £1 million conference signing. Yeah. So the thing is Stewart Donald's going to have to look at the other examples, and there is examples there, and he can learn from what other teams did to get out the league. I mean, sometimes it does take you 2 years. It took Southampton 2 years. Took Leeds, I think, 3 or 4 years. Some of them don't go straight back up. Some of them do, but he needs to look at building the club properly. Even if it takes 2 years. We need to be in a stronger position when we're in the Championship next time. The other thing we've got to worry about, of course, is what a lot of teams have done. Sheffield Wednesday in particular, they've came up and they've spent, they've not went up. My concern is that with an investment firm, is that you can't get up. It's difficult to get out the Championship. You see teams like Derby, look at the money Borough spent. Look at the money virtually every team in that top 12 apart from Millwall has spent. And you think, right, well, everyone means business there. It's a difficult league to get out of. I mean, I know we've said it's a shit league all season, and we're bottom of it.
But the football on offer isn't great in the Championship. I honestly think there's a lack of managerial quality. Other than Nuno at Wolves and Neil Warnock, who's a bit of an old-fashioned kind of,
You see the same names, don't you?
Yeah, you do see the same names. I honestly don't think managers. Well, you could level this at managers in the Premier League as well, but I don't think they get the best out of the resources.
Well,
I really don't. I think there's Neil Warnock's kind of proved it. You can sign players and not spend that much money and still do well. The guy at Millwall's proved it as well.
I think sometimes it's
Millwall haven't even spent £1 million on a player, I don't think, if I believe right.
Millwall, yeah, they've done it on a shoestring. But I mean, Millwall's played Sunderland twice this season, and they're no great shakes.
No,
it's absolutely baffling that they're up there and where. But we know what our issues are. If we had goalkeeping, we probably would have been.
I think that Millwall have just got a clear team and identity together, and a playing style. I think I read something from, I can't remember what he's called. I think he's the captain. He's like 35 players up front.
Steve Morrison.
Yeah, and he was just like, we don't change our footballing style. It doesn't matter who we play. We're just going to be absolute shithouses. We're going to stand on your toes, and we're just going to get like in your face. And to be honest, if that happens to us in League One, I would love it.
Yeah.
If we just sign, like, I don't know, I saw Daryl Murphy's name mentioned or something, like a 35-year-old jobber striker that's just going to, like, be a battering ram.
Well, I think maybe we should talk about, who the manager could be.
Yes,
That's
well,
interesting.
Mick McCarthy has been spotted at a BMW dealership in... Where is it? Bolton. Bolton, sorry.
Not
Bolton. Oh, well.
Yes, he was spotted there, and he was at the Traveller pub.
Yeah, I drive past it every day.
Yeah, so, he's got no reason to be in the northeast, really. No business interests.
Well,
up here.
apparently he does. That's what the...
Is that not another one of these things where people go, oh, I saw this guy at CM?
No, there's pictures. There's definitely there.
There's pictures.
All right.
He's definitely there.
Okay.
It was an RTG thread, so it must have some truth.
Yeah, and then obviously Roker Rapport picked it up, and then all of the local journalists have picked it up as well. But there's a couple of journalists that claim to be in the know that have said that he's just up here for personal reasons, but...
He's got no personal reasons of it, surely?
Well, I mean, he did live here for a few years.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I've never heard of Mick McCarthy just randomly coming up with the northeast. I mean, people would be like, "Oh, Mick McCarthy's up here."
Yeah, it all just seems to fit into place a bit too conveniently.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's the favourite for the job. Number one, number two,
he's in the northeast.
Number three, it's the day after our manager's been sacked and we've just been taken over. So
something's happening. Yeah,
quite a coincidence for Mick McCarthy.
I think whoever happens, I think it'll be. After their season's end, I don't think it'll be like, and I don't think we'll know by like Sunday, for instance, who the new manager is. I think it'll be a bit longer than that.
There's been mixed kind of opinions on Mick McCarthy. People saying that why should we be going back to the past and such like, but we're in a pretty dire position in Mick McCarthy's experience, and I've heard people say that he hasn't got anybody out of the Championship for 10 years. Well, we're not in the Championship, so that's not his job remit, for one.
But he's done it before.
I think like...
and he's been at Ipswich, who have no budget. Ipswich
done a hell of a job there.
Ipswich haven't had any money for years. They've been in the Championship as long as I've been alive, pretty much. They've never had any parachute payments, anything like that.
Well,
and he's managed to keep them in a kind of steady position.
He took over the Roy Keane shit show that was there.
Yeah, he did.
Spending £2 million on Thomas Priskin and all the crap that went with that. He spent an absolute fortune on rubbish there, and McCarthy's went in and sold some good young players for profit. Aaron Cresswell, Tyrone Mings, to name a few. There's Darryl
Waghorn that's done well for them this season.
I think McCarthy would be someone who obviously got sacked in the middle of a season, didn't really get to leave on his terms, unfinished business, he'd say, and maybe it would be good to come back and then stick around for a couple of years. I don't think it'd be a long-term appointment, get us back into the Championship and then move on from there. But it would be nice if he can come back and leave on his terms rather than getting sacked.
I think history sort of has painted him in a better light than what he was in at the time. I think at the time people were like, oh God, another 15-point season. The guy obviously can't manage in the Premier League. Now we're looking and we're like, right, okay, that was a really bad situation he was in. He managed to take you up, in 03 or 4 or 4 or 5. We were a club that could have went, Leeds sort of level. Had no money. Finances were there. I mean, the players he bought at the start of 4-5, Dean Whitehead, Liam Lawrence, Carl Robinson, all them players.
Did he bring in Danny Collins as well?
Danny Collins, Neil Collins.
Precisely.
He brought in so many players from the lower leagues.
Last week, Chris Brown and Danny Collins were raving about him. They say you knew where he stood with him, and Chris Brown was saying that the things Mick McCarthy did for his career in terms of just roughing him up in training, like if a ball came across and Chris Brown wasn't getting there, like Mick McCarthy would abuse him pretty much, and that stood him in good stead and helped toughen him up. And I think our players could use some of that.
Well, I think if Ashley Fletcher was there next year, I know he won't be, but he could do with a bit of Mick McCarthy love. Yeah, a bit of tough love. But I think some of our, we've got a squad of very young players, and if you look at the team he had at Sunderland in 2004-05, we had a squad of very young, inexperienced players.
And what's more is that when he played for Celtic, Scottish Cup final in the 80s. Players had to meet Margaret Thatcher and were instructed to shake a hand, and he kicked up a fuss and refused to do it. What a guy! What more do you want from a manager? Hates Maggie
That sounds
Thatcher.
like such a Mick McCarthy thing to do.
I know, I can hey, fuck the Tories! Hey up! I'm not shaking your hand, Margaret!
Quite within his rights as well, she was a prick.
Yeah,
I just realised I can do Mick McCarthy.
That was a very good impression, yes. Very good. After this, get that little clip and just make that a thing.
This is Mick McCarthy, and you're listening to the Roker Report Podcast.
No,
that's gone. It's gone. No!
You've fucked on it.
No!
But Mick McCarthy, I'd be happy with him, to be honest. I don't think we're in a position to kind of have some ground sweeping philosophical manager come in and change things. I think we need stability.
Obviously we'll talk about Roy Keane as well, but he needs to be at a club that has a lot of money involved, I think. he seems to be like to spend a lot of money when he was here. As much as, I mean, like 8 million on Anton Ferdinand and all that. So
that when it all went to shit at the end.
Yeah, so I feel like I'd like Roy Keane back, and I think again got unfinished business here. But I think maybe we don't have the money for him that he would want.
If anyone wants to talk themselves into Roy Keane, just read his book. I mean, I have read his book.
It is good. Like,
I read his book and be like,
God,
God,
read both of them.
Yeah, Roy
I've
Keane's
read it.
book
Yeah,
is great. I love it. Yeah,
but both of them are so good. The second one,
the bit
especially,
about
is
Sunderland. Just gives you goosebumps listening to it.
that when he spouts off at Ferguson, I just think, what a guy! Like, nobody spouts off at Ferguson.
I know. It was like captain won so much of it. I was like, oh, it's fucking knob.
I still love that story about when Ellis Short was texting him before the game at Old Trafford saying, "Oh, good luck, Roy. Expecting 3 points today." And Roy's like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Like, you know, Conor Mayweather style. Who the fuck is this guy? But yeah, no, I would like to see Roy Keane.
You say Conor Mayweather?
Conor McGregor.
Oh, I thought you said Conor Mayweather.
yeah, I thought you said that as well.
Did I? Well, I might have done it if two people say I did. Then.
I think Roy Keane, while rose tinted glasses, I think he wouldn't come down to League One.
Nah, I don't think.
I think he's obviously got unfinished business.
I don't think he's got any desire to being club management anymore.
When Martin O'Neill still is my idle manager, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
I think Roy Keane will probably take that once he's gone because he's there now.
I don't think he will. I think they view him far too volatile to take that position. I think there was a bit of
the FA. I don't really like him because of the whole 2002 World Cup thing.
One name I did see,
which involved Mick McCarthy as well.
One name I did see was Michael Appleton, and I'm like, he's built like a shithouse, whatnot, but he's not a very good manager. He hasn't been.
He's not a very good manager, but I just, he did a good job at Oxford. He did a difficult job at Blackburn.
That's why he's been linked because of the Oxford link. But the favourite at the moment is Mick McCarthy, who was 1-3 on. And you've got Chris Wilder at 7-2, Michael Appleton 6-1, Paul Cook 8-1, Yap Stam 14-1. I fucking hope that doesn't happen.
Who's Keane's Paul Cook?
Paul Cook, manager. He's just took them up.
Who?
So it doesn't really.
Paul.
Who's your manager of? Sorry,
Wigan.
Is he? Oh, right.
Wigan Athletic. We have played them in the Premier League.
Yes, yeah.
Previously.
we got Catamol from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I know who we.
But I don't know why he'd come down to us after just taking them up.
Well, same as Chris Wilder. I really want to leave Sheffield.
Well, apparently he's had murmurings with board unrest at Sheffield United.
I think he thought that there was actually a thing on him on Sky Sports.
Oh, by the way, John O'Shea's 20-1.
It's just his birthday today, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
How old is he? 5,000.
I think he's 38. But back to Chris Wilder, he wanted, I think, a bit more backing when they were going for the playoffs in January.
He should have got it as well,
and he didn't get it. Good. And I think that he's playing with Clayton Donaldson, Billy Sharp, Leon Clark.
Kevin Phillips is also 16-1.
I don't think Phillips will get it. Mind you,
I don't want Phillips to get it, to be honest.
Somebody treated me and they were like, if Kevin Phillips get it, I am effing never coming back to this club or something. Today I was like, really? It's like, if Phillips came, I would certainly talk myself into it being a good idea. Like, we'd all be ranting and raving about it. Oh, Super Kev's back.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, you could ruin your reputation, or, like, could do really well as a player, comes here as a manager, doesn't do the job, and then it, like, tarnishes your career. I would imagine.
Shall we have a quick promotional break? So
yeah, I didn't think we were doing promotional breaks anymore.
Well, we are doing a promotional break, right? Hello and welcome back to the Roker Rapport Podcast, the Takeover Special Edition. Coleman gone. We'll move on to Mickey Gray, who has been acting like the Oracle. Is he the Oracle? Does he know anything?
I think we're lucky.
Well, there's a rumour to suggest, or which is flying around, that he had connections with one consortium which has failed, which was a group of his mates. So now he's just pretending to be in the know just for his TalkSport show.
Didn't he respond to someone when they asked would this be a good move for the club? And he said no.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I don't know what Mickey Gray does or doesn't know. He probably knows more than me, but
he probably does. But I mean, he's not really directly involved at the company anymore.
Wasn't he? But wasn't he like banned from the club once by Ellis Short for comments he made or something like that? Wasn't he like banned from?
Yes, he was. Yeah. I recall that. I think he's probably not banned anymore. But I mean, Mickey Gray. I think it is just a case of he spat his dummy out. I mean, I quite like him as a pundit, and I've been talking with him. He seems like a decent bloke.
I quite like him as a pundit.
A bit arrogant, but he's
I was
going to say he's a footballer. He's probably earned it. He is worth a lot of money, and he's a good-looking lad.
He showed up in a fancy car once, didn't he, when we were struggling?
Don't judge him too much for that. I mean, if I bought a Ferrari, I would drive it to work as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Sunderland fan, and you know he's passionate about the club, and you know has a reason to be frustrated as much as all of us do. So.
No, I think
his main point seems to be that nothing has been signed, etc., only agreed. But I think we can assume that this Football League check is going to go through. Eastleigh is probably going to be sold, and Ellis Short wouldn't have released that statement and agreed to wipe off the debt if they weren't pretty confident it was going to happen.
But also, I mean, the Football League ratification.
And they wouldn't have sacked Coleman either.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that the Football League ratification, I mean, they pretty much let anybody own it. Because
if Milan Mandaric and all of them.
Massimo Cellino, you know, I think the guys.
That's what I was worried about.
Short.
Like, someone like, someone like Massimo Cellino. Oh no!
But think about the guy who took over Portsmouth years ago, and then they only had just one picture of him, and it was just all a fake. I mean,
was that Mandaric? It was, wasn't it?
Mandaric was at Portsmouth, but yeah,
he was after him.
To be fair, I don't mind
the Venkies.
Yeah, the Venkies. There's so many examples of.
Guydemark, was it?
He was the guy who was there, and then he sold it to this chic guy who they only met once. Then he sold it on to this.
Because everybody's always, you know, banding out that we need a fit and proper person's test for a club. But how are you supposed to?
I think
do you have the best intentions of this club at heart? Let me look at your finances.
I believe Ellis Short was the one who came up with the idea of freedom fair play as well.
He wanted financial fair play.
Yeah, so like obviously when people complain about that not spending, it's like, well, Lee did suggest it, so he's going to stick to them rules.
I think financial fair play is a flawed system because it goes on how much revenue a club gets, so it's pulled the ladder up from the elite clubs, hasn't it?
Yeah, the gap's grown, but also it just seems absolutely ridiculous. As long as you guarantee that you can pay those football debts, and then who cares? If I want to spend £100 billion on Sunderland, but I was like, and he has a check for £100 billion just to prove that I've got it, who cares?
Well, it's not even that as well. You've got to prove that you can get the revenue in and stuff. And so, if you speculate to accumulate, then you're going to get the revenue, aren't you?
Freedom. I think it's just bullshit. I mean, where's Stoke got 18 million from Beulah from? I mean, I just don't see, you know, the money that these clubs spend. I don't think they really stick to these rules.
But yeah, but look at TV money and that, don't they?
Yeah, I guess so.
And Beulah was a random one to pick on a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Gianni and Beulah, he was the problem.
did he go out on loan or something?
Yeah, they don't have him now.
I'm just thinking like a club that spent a load of money, and I can't imagine them making a huge amount.
It'd be interesting to see actually how Stoke do next year. I know this is just totally going on an aside, and there's so much to talk about Sunderland, but you know, they're going to go down. They've got a team full of players like Shaqiri and that. They're going to be in trouble next year.
Peter Crouch will bust the championship next year, I reckon.
I think he'll sign for us.
Yeah.
You know, that could be your Sunderland.
Funny enough, though, I did predict that we had a takeover. Roker Rapport TV last week, you guys were there. I was like, the takeover will happen before.
Mick McCarthy's coming in, signing 12 players from the National League.
Maybe
half them from Gateshead or something. I don't know.
I've no idea who will sign next. Well, for this upcoming season,
it's a case of having to learn a new league, because I mean I know the Premier League and I always knew the Championship as well. But
nothing
League
about
One,
the Championship really until we came into it.
I was keeping interest because I quite like watching it.
I literally have no idea. I don't even know who the top scorer is.
You
in
know who Wigan
League
Athletic are, man. I mean,
League. Who's that? Wigan Athletic didn't win the FA Cup a few years ago. Like. I don't know who's the top scorer in the Championship and League One. I presume is one of the top two teams, or is it
what?
One of the top two teams? I presume the top scorer is from one of those two teams, like Wigan or.
It's Will Grigg, isn't it?
I'm just buying some time while I Google it because I don't know him. Championship top scorers.
Oh, the Championship. Championship, not like grabbing.
Nah.
Oh, please.
He scored at the weekend.
I know he scored at the weekend, but I don't think it's grabbing, is it? Championship top scorers Championship. I think Vidra's up there. Yeah, Vidra's leading because of 2 more assists than Graben.
Oh, so they're tied.
Yeah, so they're tied. So
that's
Bobby Reid from Bristol City lined it up as well. Leon Clark, I'm sorry, right? Leon Clark is not that good.
Top scorer for
18 goals in the Championship.
Top scorers in League One is Bradley Dack with 18 for Blackburn, Brett Pittman with 22 for Portsmouth, and Jack Marriott with 27 for Peterborough.
Yeah,
Waghorn, we all turned our noses up at Waghorn.
Our nipples up.
Our nipples, yeah, and he's on 15 goals. 15 goals and 10 assists.
I saw that. To be fair, though, everything he hit at the start of the season was going. I think he scored like 6 or 7 of them goals.
I know, but 10 assists isn't bad.
But does he header it?
Mitrovic has got 12 for Fulham already.
He's only been there since February.
He's been class. He was good again. But apart from the fact he scored an offside goal, he was good against us on Friday.
Yeah,
was Oral's goal? What do you think?
Cracking.
Yeah. The defender was fucking awful, but
I want to see with the new takeover is when it's officially ratified on that same day, is like
Madger and Asoro, new contracts.
Joel Asoro signed a new 4-year deal. Josh Madger signed a new 4-year deal. Elliot Embleton signed a new 3-year deal. And I want all them players signed up because they are going to be...
John O'Shea signs a contract for life.
The thing is, though, is the new ownership does have to look at the assets we've got within the club. They can build. They don't have to spend that much money because they can build from the young players we've got. They just need to add a few heads who know that league and know how to get out of it.
I think Gooch, the likes of Gooch and Honeyman and Ethan Robson are going to be very, very handy in that league.
Yeah, I agree. I think Robson's, to be honest, been overlooked for a lot of the season by Coleman. He played him for a few games and then dropped him when he made a mistake.
I quite like Robson. I think he knits things together quite nicely.
He's physical. He breaks the play up. He's never going to score you any goals or probably even get assists, but he breaks the play up and he can pass as well.
And I hope Beadland comes back in and plays for us. I really do. It's not looking likely, but I really hope he does.
It's a chance though for them. Sort of, the regime's all going to change from top to bottom. If they've got rid of Coleman at this point, they're going to change everything. I don't think any of the coaching staff are safe.
Well, I hope. Obviously, he's not coaching staff, but I hope Kevin Ball is kept around as in his ambassadorial roles.
I hope he's given a little bit more.
I'd like to see him have a coaching job.
And I think if Stewart Donald's got any sort of wits about him, he'll probably have to assess the full staffing. But I think Kevin Ball is crying out to get a bigger role, and I think he'll probably listen to fans on that sort of thing and get. It's
a common sense, isn't it? If you want to have somebody advising you on how to rebuild the club, then there's no better than Kevin Ball.
And there's no better though than even asking the fans, what they think the problems have been, and then you can sort of address them. Don't give John O'Shea even if John O'Shea isn't the problem, he's symbolic of the previous regime. So is Lee Cattermole, and you need to. They need to, if they're going to have a fresh start in new ownership, they need to have a clean slate from everything.
I think O'Shea and Cattermole need fresh starts.
I think O'Shea will probably retire. I
think he's got one more club in him.
I think he's got one more run.
I don't think he wants to retire.
And play for as long as you can. That's what they always say, don't they?
Yeah, I think he loves it, and I think he still thinks he can continue.
Player swap, bring Danny Collins in, turn him to Grimsby.
I'd take that. Danny Collins is up for it as well.
Danny Collins, proper game for it. Proper game.
He said he played for us for free.
Yeah, and do you know what?
Get him in.
That's the sort of attitude we
need. He should never have fucking left.
Steve Bruce,
Steve Bruce, wanker.
Steve Bruce bringing in Michael Turner to replace him.
To be fair, Turner was decent for about 6 months under O'Neill. He was alright.
Did Roy Keane not sell Collins?
No.
Stoke?
No, it was Brucey.
Oh, okay.
Wigan were in the Premier League then, actually.
Yeah.
Wigan were a Premier League team.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it was Wigan that ended Steve Bruce because it was a 2-1 defeat at the Stadium of Light.
They've got absolutely Rob Moses dived.
Yeah, and
we took the lead in that game.
Yeah, Larson.
The cries of "you fat Geordie bastard" were really deafening.
They were. It was horrendous. That's probably the most.
That was very, very abusive.
It was horrendous.
And I was only about 17, so I was fucking pretty much conducting it.
Because that was the game where the first game of the season at home was against Newcastle.
Yeah.
Aye, which got beat 1-0.
But we beat Stoke like 4-0.
Ryan Taylor over the wall.
But we'd lost to Chelsea as well. I think G scored. Andres Villas-Boas is Chelsea, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that now because Dan Sturridge scored.
Oh yeah, that's right. Dan Sturridge playing off the left wing. Anyway, this is digressed slightly, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Good luck with the good old days.
We get to start talking about Sunderland. Is there any other? Have they got any questions?
No, not really. Chris Cam didn't really put much of a plan together on my instruction, to be fair, because I thought we'd just wing it.
I have for you. What about Kevin Ball then as manager in League One?
Kevin Nolan. Fuck Kevin
Kevin
Nolan.
Ball.
Oh, Kevin Ball. Oh yeah, take Kevin. I thought you said Kevin Nolan.
He wouldn't come here.
He did a good job at Notts County, but I think he's possibly, has he taken them up? Or is he going to take them?
I don't know. I'd take Kevin Ball as a manager in League One.
I think I'm set on Mick McCarthy. I'm absolutely set.
I mean, if Mick McCarthy was the option, I would take him. Yeah.
I think McCarthy even said when it came up in November when Coleman took it. I remember watching an interview with him where he was like, "I'd be interested if I wasn't in contract. I'd be interested."
He's fucking hilarious as well.
Well, yeah, he is. He's a good bloke. He's honest.
He's an Ian Holloway, but not as eccentric.
He's a northern one.
You can go on YouTube and type in Mick McCarthy funny, and there's reams and reams of material.
That's why I think you need someone like that who just says what needs to be said. It doesn't take any crap from anyone. Isn't like a nice guy. Like Steve McLaren seems like a nice guy and too nice to be a manager. That's why he's not very good, because players just don't listen to him. But someone who commands respect, like Mick McCarthy, would be ideal.
He'll just come in and I can just see what he'll be like. He'll just sort it out. He's a bit of a sort of a lower league Sam Allardyce, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need somebody with a bit of charisma who, and admittedly knowing the club and knowing what the club can do, and McCarthy never saw the full potential, but he did take them into the Premier League. I think we could do with somebody like that, somebody who the players can sort of identify with as well. I think it's a good appointment. It's a logical appointment, even if he hadn't managed Sunderland before. He's a manager with credentials. He's got championship credentials. He knows how to get out of the championship, and ultimately, the long-term goal for this ownership group will be to get the Premier League.
He just wants a bit of love as well, does Mickey, and he'll get it.
He will.
He acts all, he acts all hard, but he that Ipswich thing hurt him.
I think so.
Yeah, well, that was the way he just walked out.
Yeah, that was funny though.
He's got a terrible record in derbies, though.
Yeah, he has. But he's always been the underdog in derbies, hasn't he? I mean, when we eventually played Gateshead.
Well, Spennymoor, watch that.
Yeah, they're not
what about that Spanish consort? Is that the owners, if we got promoted, and then sell it on to another consortium or something like that?
I suppose without knowing much of I mean, we had that Thesen investment group we were looking at yesterday, which
we were supposed to broadcast that on air. Or?
I've got no idea.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's on.
If not,
there we go.
No, I think it is. It's on Twitter.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's right then.
Yeah, it's on Twitter.
So there's like this this investment group allegedly involved that's worth 15 billion. I mean, if they're getting the championship and that's what the sort of money they got behind them, happy days. But again, I just want to. Don't want to get too optimistic. I don't want the snippet from this to be
one step at a time.
15 billion.
The next step is to see who's going to take over as manager.
It'll be an exciting summer. I think last year we sort of came in with expectations that we would make a couple of splashes in the transfer market, and it didn't happen. But I think this summer there probably will be some players come in who will actually make the fans a little bit excited. It wouldn't surprise me if they brought in some good championship players for League One.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the sort of recruitment. I mean, Bradley Dack, you mentioned him before, but he came from Gillingham for Blackburn, and he's been a revelation. We need to sort of find that sort of player. Marcus Maddison or something from Peterborough would be good.
Tell you who's good on FIFA. You could get Nottingham Forest have a striker called Ben Brereton, who's a 17-year-old who's a really good player on FIFA. So
I should sign
get him.
Johnny Goldsmith.
My scouting is there. FIFA. He's got on FIFA. Will do.
He's got some strong analysis here. He's like, well, I was playing FIFA. I don't know who Wigan are, but I was playing FIFA.
I see your FIFA striker, and I raise you a Football Manager striker. Carlos Fierro, get him in.
Well, I think Mangala's good on FIFA. So what does that say?
This is true. That's true. Eva Alvarez Balanta. He was good. He was a good centre back on Football Manager.
Balanta, I remember him.
He was good. Benega was really good for years on Football Manager.
What, Eva Benega?
Yeah.
He's still good now.
Yeah, he's still. Do you remember when we nearly signed him?
Yeah, we do. And then there was the guy we nearly signed from Sevilla, who's now with Leicester, whose name has Iborra, Vincent Iborra.
Vincent Iborra, yeah.
Yeah,
or when we actually had the likes of Johnny Evans and Danny Rose and Marcus Alonso at the club and still didn't sign him.
Aye. Good times. Good times. Right, okay, what else have we got?
I'm just having a look at Tom Atkinson's article of Thesen Capital. They pretty much do the same thing that shorts companies do, and they take over shitty companies, which I suppose Sunderland is at the moment, and they look to build them up.
Yeah, they invest in it a little bit.
The whole financial jargon is very hard to
I think
decipher,
essentially the crux of it is you buy a factory that makes cars, but all the parts are very old that make the cars. So what you do is you go, this business is not making money, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all the machinery and make it more efficient. So, i.e., buy more players, invest in backroom staff.
I think these, as you mentioned earlier, with the facilities and stuff, people are looking at Sunderland and thinking, with a bit of TLC, with a little bit of investment, it's actually not hard to get it back to being quite a saleable and steady investment for somebody else.
I agree, and I think they need to,
especially now the debts have been written off.
And I think
supposedly
one of the major faults of Ellis Short's reign is that he tried almost too hard to make Sunderland something it wasn't. And I think back to that Roy Keane era, after 07-08, we were a team that I would say was similar to like Burnley right now. Just a team that was full of grafters, was going to give 100%. Maybe lacked a little bit of quality, but was always going to put a target on sleeve. Then we went from that when Short came in, and we started. We totally went away from that. Went to Shimbondas, Juice, Cisse's, and that's not Sunderland Football Club.
That was Roy Keane's vision, though. I think he was buying those players. I know, he had. But I think the money came in and changed his.
But I think the fact is from when Short came in, he tried to make Sunderland a sort of a football superpower, and he was going to try and buy into Europe and stuff, and that's just not the way to do it.
I don't
at
think
Sunderland.
he was trying to make a football and superpower. I just think he was badly advised. Like, he just surrounded himself with idiots who didn't know the football market.
Well, maybe, but
successful markets.
I just look at the era since, and I think when Sunderland works best, in the times in my life where it's worked best, it's always been with, you know, a squad with names where you wouldn't go,
look at that. Martin Scott and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Blah,
and you
blah,
look,
Kevin Ball,
and they
Gary
moved
Bennett.
away from that. And I think for Sunderland to be successful, we need to not try and be.
I agree, but I honestly don't think that was Ellis's like doing. I don't think he knew the club well enough to consciously think, oh, we're just going to sign a fancy Dan El Hadj Diouf because he's a name. I honestly don't think that was it.
Well, maybe, but I think that essentially what I'm saying is the new owners though need to look at when Sunderland has been successful and when the fans have been behind it, and it's always been when we have had players that you can sort of relate to. You know, like Danny Collins is particular. You look at him and you're like, you know what, he loved it. He didn't want to leave, and he loved it. And
it would be nice to sign some players in the Danny Collins mould in terms of them coming up through non-league and maybe being a bit more grateful.
And I want the way Sunderland to be run now to be run similar to Burnley, where, you know, I would love to be run like Burnley. Give me Sean Dyche's manager. Financially, it's like fine. You've got a manager there who you know is not going to leave. You've got a squad full of players that, you know, is essentially being the same. They do buy the odd players to improve it, but when they buy the big name players, when they bought Chris Wood is not, you know, that.
It's not prima donna.
He's not Jibril Cissé.
Yeah, he's not.
And while I like
Jibril was all right.
No, he did well at Sunderland.
In the dressing room, he was good.
But it's not that sort of striker. He's not that sort of person. He wasn't that.
He's a clogger with a bit of quality.
Yeah, and I think Jibril Cissé, even though they say that he was all right in the dressing room, I mean, he probably felt that he was doing Sunderland a favour playing for them.
I don't know. I don't know. It's not after his leg breaks. I think he was just happy to be out there.
Maybe not. But
and if you look where he went on to afterwards, it wasn't exactly, you know, inundated with offers.
No. Did play for QPR though, under Mark Hughes, I think.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I just want Sunderland to think about that. In my life, we've always been best when we've focused on, you know, players that aren't necessarily the biggest names, but do a job and understand it, you know. And I want them to do that. That's how I want the club to be. To be honest, I don't really want Wood to ever go back down the path where we've been, where we've thrown money at superstars, quote unquote.
This is the positive thing about Stewart Donald, is that he runs things very efficiently, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the sort of thing, you know. I don't want to see.
So did Martin Bain, apparently.
Oh, well, yeah, the different type of efficiency.
But I don't want Sunderland to be a top 10 spender on wages like we have been for the last 10 years, because that's not Sunderland. You know, that's not representative of us, and that's not really representative of.
Yeah, you want to do it that way that's really satisfying on Football Manager, where you build a young, hungry side, you sell a couple of players, and you reinvest on like 10 players who all come up through and make your 100 million. You want to do it that way, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And I think the thing is Sunderland.
Saying that, if any, you know, like kind of, you know, Middle Eastern guy wants to buy us and throw money aside, like, so you can do that as well. I don't mind. I'll be fine.
I just think it's almost the fundamental difference between Sunderland and Newcastle, is that Newcastle like that superstar, you know. They love the fact when they Barrow and Michael Owen signed for them, and the massive hoo-ha that went on about it, you know, they bought a player from Real Madrid. And I just think that's sort of Sunderland they've failed when going down that kind of route. You know, they have tried to buy superstars, you know, Barini, while
he wasn't a superstar though.
Yeah, but that's what he was sort of viewed at. That's what they try to make it.
Conor Wickham was viewed as like the next big thing in the England's team as well. Like,
he was viewed as a prospect. I don't think we've. Well, if that has been our mantra, to go out and sign superstars, then we've not done it very well, because I don't think any of these players were seen as superstars before they came. I just think they'd been poorly advised and they didn't scout properly. And they've always bought, like, not superstars, but who's in vogue at the time, or like what's in fashion at the time.
Fletcher
like,
scores 10 goals and
12
million.
And when you had Newcastle doing the whole French thing, we thought, all right, we'll get an Italian, and we'll get an Italian director of football, and we'll buy all of these European players for £1 million, and we'll try and do it that way. It never seems like it's been well thought out. It's always just been like flitting between different styles of, well, different shades of shite, really.
I just hope that the new ownership sort of looks at that, learns from the previous mistakes. You know, can't afford to have 10 managers in 10 years. We can't afford to do that anymore. They can't afford to have a player turnover as ridiculous as us. You know, I think they said on Sky it's like an average of 14 out and 10 in or something every summer. We can't afford to do that.
And to go back to Burnley and even Bournemouth, like, you look at the the crux of their squad. And it's like you could name it, really, couldn't you?
And you can. And that's exactly it. You can look at Burnley and be like, right, Steve Cook's going to be playing centre back.
And one of the things I really, really think we need to do as well, and it's talked about in a book called Socceromics, is have the replacement ready before the big name goes. It kind of an example, although he hasn't gone, would be Burnley with Tom Heaton and Nick Pope. Like, they had a quality goalkeeper there, they knew it, so when he's come in, he's done well. We need to have that strength and depth without kind of advertising it too much.
And I think being in League One actually affords you the opportunity to sort of build that pipeline, because you can, next year they can afford to throw in younger players. You know, it's essentially, we've been talking about wanting to loan players out of lower leagues. We've got that swing now. Yeah, you can, you know, throw Embleton might not have been ready for the Championship, but he's had a year. And next year in League One, you know, that's where we would have been looking to loan him at.
I really don't want us to just loan Premier League players.
I know.
I really don't want us to loan Ajaria again.
I don't want one loan.
No, neither do I. I just want us to have our players and just build them. And if they get sold, they get sold. If it's a lot of money, then it's a lot of money, and we can't turn it down. But what is the point of loaning? Unless they're phenomenal and it's the only reason we're going to get promoted. But what is the point?
I was just watching one of those season reviews of the 04-05 season when I went as champions. We had a whole squad of just our players. We had Darren Carter on loan, I think, and I think that might have been it. I can't remember many others.
We had Carter and he did really well and we couldn't get him back.
Yeah, and
same story.
We had so many players who were just ours at that season, so we need more like that.
I think it's the way. I mean, has any club ever really benefited from having loans?
West Brom with Lukaku.
Yeah, but they couldn't replace him.
Yeah, when he went, true, you know what I mean? It's like it's hard.
It's like Welbeck. You know, we had Welbeck, Ben Jan, and then we ended up selling Ben Jan, and we lost Welbeck from loan.
But then we had Neda Manura at the back that season, who had to go back as well.
Yeah, Danny Rowe.
And Alan Hutton over the years. The list is endless. Well, Johnny Evans we got twice.
And when you psychologically, I almost feel clubs go like, right, we've got him on loan. Well, I don't want to spend money on him now because we've had him anyway.
Yeah.
So you're
also
like, it's buy him.
That player's uncertain about where they're going to be next season, so it's like, you know, because obviously then they'll have to give it their best so they can impress their parent club, but it's like, well I don't know where I'll be here if I'll be here next season. Or...
The prime example of that is Barini, who worked his way into being like a Mackem hero for that year, and then thought, right, I've cracked this, I'll go back to Liverpool and I'll be a star now. And I think that's the reason he was playing, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think sometimes too with loans, you know, if we had the opportunity to buy Jan MVF, for example, which I'm sure we would have when we loaned him, it must be frustrating if you're the player and the club's like, oh, we'll like you, but we don't like you enough to commit a 4-year contract to you.
It's either you want me or you don't.
Yeah, and I think that must be damaging for loan players quite a lot.
Well, Johnny Evans, did he not want to stay here? I'm sure he did, didn't he?
I'm not sure.
I think Ferguson wanted him back.
Yeah. We wanted him.
Evans is one of the rare cases where we did actually try really hard to get him.
Yeah.
We didn't with Welbeck. We did with Jan MV, kind of, but not really, because we'll wait till January. We didn't really with Barini until the season after.
Yeah, it's we did try Barini.
Did we put a bid in? Did we?
Yeah, he turned it down.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and then we went running back.
It was 14 million pounds, I think.
We'll try again for 14 million, and then the next year we got him for 9, I think. Now obviously be interesting to see though where in terms of the back to the takeover, all the fees from Lens, Barini, Kazri, all them, Dillabodji, where that money's going. Is that money going to go back into the club, or is that money going to be put
apportioned for Short?
Yeah, because I would imagine if Short is selling the club for free, he and writing off the debt, if we're going to take that as gospel that he's doing it that way, there's no way that he's not getting money off that, because it's essentially his money. He probably paid them transfers himself almost, so he knows he was going to get it.
It's telling that how just sick of it he is, that he's just like, right, wipe the debts off. Wipe them off.
But I want to know, I mean, I want to see what even the accounts haven't been released yet, and that's obviously been why. But they should be released. I think legally they do have to release them at some point. You know, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like, and it'd be interesting to see the eventual, information on the takeover, how much it was for, who was exactly involved.
The Mirror are reporting just now that we're considering Blackpool boss Gary Bowyer as Chris Coleman's replacement. This is according to John Cross.
That's rather. I think Blackpool are doing all right this season, and they're not heading towards the playoffs.
I'm convinced we've got a manager lined up. Otherwise, why sack Coleman?
I think it's Mick McCarthy. There's absolutely no reason for him to be
Lee Boy's going to be lined up against us next season as manager of Charlton.
Oh,
and Joey Barton, manager of Fleetwood.
Oh, Joey Barton can fuck off.
And Kevin Nolan wanting Notts County, so there you go.
I'm fucking thinking about who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? I just hope we'll have a season like what Wolves and Norwich and that had down there, where you just you go there, you go.
Well, Leicester got down and went up, ended up winning the Premier League, so I'm not saying we would, but you know that has happened.
The dream.
Yeah. So
I don't think League One was why that happened. Like, I think it's just serious.
N'Golo Kante was why that happened.
Claudio Ranieri and Mahrez, Vardy.
Mahrez.
What a time.
That was a good time. And I remember everybody thinking that Sunderland could do it the next season because we'd like narrowly escaped relegation. Oh, we can win it. We can do it.
I can't remember actually thinking that.
Well, I can't remember thinking about. I can remember like stupid sport Bible going. Oh, it's Sunderland's time. We've had Leicester now. It's Sunderland. Nah, I didn't. Always relegated.
yeah.
Was that how? Oh, it was. It was like
The season
I was
after.
thinking if it stayed with Allardyce, maybe things, but yeah.
shit happens.
Everton fans are very dismissive of Allardyce signing a new contract.
That's really annoying
Did he sign
because
a new contract?
I think he signed new year, another year. He's
They
going to be there
finished-
next season for sure.
No, he signed a 2-year when he took over.
they finished
was it-
8th.
Oh, no,
But
they've
is it-
just
are they
announced
confirmed that he's
on.
staying?
Yeah, no, he's definitely staying. Yeah.
See, I think that's good then. But, if I was Everton, I'd be like, yeah, right, let him
They're
sort
like-
it all out.
They're like sixth in the form table since he signed. He's like stabilised them. If they'd have gone down, which they could well have, that would have been a disaster given that they've got Wayne Rooney on about 200 grand a week.
Well, think about the whole squad.
Sigurdsson for
Schneiderlin,
50 million in the summer.
Balassi. I can't understand why they bought Balassi.
He was alright until he got injured. Pace. That's what you need in the Premier League's pace.
I thought it was shit.
And he tore us
Did score a
apart.
hat-trick at the Stadium United.
Yeah, he tore us apart for Palace, and when Lukaku scored a hat-trick at the Stadium United in the second half.
Yeah,
Balassi was instrumental in that.
I
Yeah.
remember that 4-1 against Palace where Balassi scored a hat-trick. I still think he's shite.
He's just pace. That's what you need in the Premier League.
Yeah, but he's like worse than Zaha. I mean, how much is Zaha worth now?
Well, Zaha's been rumoured to go to Tottenham, hasn't
He'll be 50 mil.
he?
Easy.
Yeah.
Well, they won 5-0 the weekend, didn't they, as well?
Who's class.
Mm.
To be fair, Leicester I don't tell men.
I must eat humble pie because I thought Roy Hodgson was going to take Crystal Palace down. He's done a phenomenal job.
He's some class.
He's done a
I'm
great
putting
job.
him in the conversation for Manager of the Year. Me, I don't care what anybody says. He's done as good as a job as anyone in that league.
Sean Dychenio. It's got to be Sean.
Dyche has done a very good job as well.
Yes, he
but
has.
I think when he took over Palace when there were 5 defeats, no goals.
But he had a long time to turn them around. Like,
Yeah, but he's kept them
What's his face was sacked after about 3 days, man. De Boer. He was sacked after about
up. 4 games. He
Yeah,
did.
he's had a lot of time. To be fair, to
He
him.
has.
It's not quite the Gus Poyet levels of Great Escape, is it really?
I don't know. Like when there were 8 games, no goals,
Yes,
all defeats.
But with 30 games to play.
Yeah, but when Poyet came in, we had like 2 points after 8 games or something.
Did we?
1 point. Actually, I think we drew Southampton. That was-
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like,
we had 1 point and
2
then we beat
points.
Newcastle in his first game, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think,
No,
I don't
that's
think
Swansea.
honestly don't think he's manager of the year.
Yeah?
Did we not compete at Swansea in his first game?
Yeah, we did. It was
Yeah,
like
and his
4-1
first game
or
was
something.
4-0 and then it was 2-1 against
We
Newcastle.
scored like 2 own goals.
I can't remember.
Those were the days.
Fletcher on goal.
Either way, Hodgson, I think.
He's not manager of the year.
Right, if you're going to pick 3 candidates, he's number 3.
I think somebody from the Championship should get it this season.
In the Premier League.
How's that going to happen?
No, because you get PFA manager of the year, don't you? Not PFA. What's it called? LMA. Sorry.
I
League
think
Managers
they do it on the divisions. I don't think
No,
they do
no,
it.
I think it's overall, isn't it?
I think if Huddersfield stay up, you would look at David Wagner as being a contender for that.
That is a good shout.
They've probably stuck that second half of the season. If they stay up with 2 no genius of their own, they've been shite for the last 3 months.
It's just because Stoke and
Chris-
Southampton
Chris-
are worse. Yeah, that's all it is.
Chris Hughton's a nice man. He should be in the room.
Hey, if
And he's
West
done well.
Brom stay up, they'll
I'm
probably
not
consider Darren
saying
Moore.
the other pick. I mean, if you're naming them, you've got to name another candidate, and I'm not saying his name. Don't have the swear jar with it. But so and so up the road, if you're counting them, you just give us a shout.
No, he's done an alright job, but I think Guardiola will probably get it, won't he? Just for the start. Of
I think Dyche will probably get it.
Manchester City.
honestly,
But then again, if Man City break 100 points, he deserves it.
I would love nothing more than Dyche to get it. Like I think he's marvellous. I remember when everyone was like, nah, Dyche isn't good enough to manage Sunderland. Nah.
I wanted him. I remember.
I wanted him.
I remember wanting Dyche,
I've met him
yeah.
as well. Actually, thinking I have met him, and he's so ginger in real life. So ginger,
But that's the one
That's
thing.
the selling point.
and his voice is like so raspy in person.
I love his voice. He's got a great voice.
He just doesn't bullshit anybody either.
I'm a fan of Sean Dyche. Like,
Yeah,
He's
I'm
a
big
modern
fan
day
of Dyche.
Peter Reid in many ways. There's a lot of parallels between what he's doing with Burnley now and what Peter Reid did with Sunderland.
do you know what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day. Do you know we talked about Leicester before? The year Leicester won the league, that could have been Sunderland, 99, 2000.
Yeah, we were told about this, weren't we? If we'd have just pushed on at Christmas.
If we'd
Because we were
not
second,
gone on
weren't we?
them horrendous runs of form, we
Yep.
would have
Yep.
like 2 years in a row went on shit runs of form, and I suppose that's probably symbolic of how bad the
Kevin
team
Phillips, Jamie Varney.
Yeah, the parallels are there. I think if the stars had aligned like it did for Leicester, I think.
Who was in goal that year? Was it Sorensen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorensen's a better goalkeeper than Kasper Schmeichel. I'm sorry.
Oh, I think that's borderline. Both good.
They're both good,
Both
but
Danish.
I think Sorensen's better.
Both Danish.
Both Danish. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
this is scary.
Who did we have in the middle? We had was it Hutchinson? Don Hutchinson.
2001 we had Hutchinson.
Yeah.
There isn't really any comparisons unless you want.
Was that Claudio Reyna as well?
No, Claudio Reyna signed the year after.
He was immense.
Yeah.
I was always injured though. He didn't do that
he
great.
was. He was good though.
He signed a 102. We got rid of
Was
Hutchinson.
Stefan Schwartz.
Yeah,
Yeah,
signed
he was
him
there.
99-2000 for 4 mil.
And then what I had Summerby on the wing.
Some yes, we did, but Summerby.
He was on his way out, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then the Alan Johnson never played in
No.
the Premier League.
No.
Michael Bridges left before. Quinny Phillips, Dickie on the bench.
Danny Dickio.
Yeah,
Super sub.
we had Steve Bould,
He had a really good season.
Mickey Gray, Chris Megan, Varga the next year. He was class.
Stan Varga. I love
best
Stan
debut
Varga.
ever.
Yeah, we had both Bernd Haas the year after that. I think, or 102.
Good times.
And then we almost had, we looked at buying Ibrahimovic, didn't we? And then we got Flo.
Ibra, Robbie Keane. Actually, the club actually sent out a email to the fans to say we'd signed Robbie Keane.
Did they?
Yeah,
I remember in it's a couple of seasons before that, but in the Premier Passions where Bob Murray sat there and they're all talking with the SLG and stuff like that. Oh, we're trying for Scholes. We're looking at Paul Gascoigne. Like, what the fuck was he smoking?
To be fair, at the time, could they have got Gascoigne? Because Gascoigne went to Borough and Everton and that. He had a bit of a shit
Possibly,
run.
but I think his stock was I don't know. But Paul Scholes was unrealistic. I know.
I think it was a loan.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but mad.
Well, another one, we were linked with Ruud van Nistelrooy, so I mean, before he went to Man United, so there's that as well, you know. But you're linked with so many players.
I was going to say, they can't really do too much. We were linked with
we had Kevin Kilban that season that we're talking about.
We were linked with Fernando Llorente before he went to wherever
Gavin
it was.
McCann.
Yeah, let me have a look. Right, hang on. This let me.
Yeah, Gavin McCann. See, I was thinking of that. I was wondering.
Just watch the 99-2000 season.
I'm on the
It's an epic
Wikipedia now.
watch.
Let's read the squad out just for. Oh, well, forgot Alex Ray as well for a bit of banter. We had Sorensen, Mackin, Gray, McCann. Sorry, oh, Chris Megan. Sorry,
Gray. You made yourself sound like a right tit there.
Gray, Kilban, Steve Bull, captain, Paul Butler, Nicky Summerby, Thomas Helmer, Niall Quinn, Phillips Dickio, Andy Marriott. I forgot about him. Darren Holloway, Ferdgard,
Darren Holloway,
Forgot
Blythe
about him.
Spartan's assistant.
Alex Ray, Jody Craddock was there. Darren Williams, Paul Thurwell, Schwartz, McCann, Wainwright, Neil Wainwright. I don't remember him. Do you remember Neil Wainwright?
Yeah, he never played for, I don't think.
Chris Lumsden,
He was a
Mark
youth
Maley,
player.
Thomas Butler, John Oster was there. Eric Roy, Michael Reddy. Fucking hell, that's a
It's actually Eric.
And Milton Nunes was there.
Eric Waugh.
Milton Nunes. Oh my gosh, what a player! The guy who
Nunes.
got the wrong player. Yeah.
Left the club during the season. Kevin Ball went, Alan Johnson went, and Marcus Di Giuseppe went.
Marcus Di Giuseppe hit the bar against Walsall from about 60
Our
yards out.
reserve squad had such shithouses in it as Kevin Kyle. Michael Proctor was in there. George McCartney was in the reserve squad. Michael Ingham, remember him? Goalkeeper.
Played got beat at home to Reading in 04-05 because he was playing in net. I can't remember why. Poom and Myra must have been injured.
Let's have a look at the stats.
Do we have Jan Mutcher in goal? There's a reserve goal.
Jürgen Macho.
Jürgen Macho, yeah.
I like Jürgen Macho,
He
was good.
signed 2000-2001. He made his debut against Arsenal on the opening day because Sorensen went off injured.
It's a shame we didn't go for like the League Cup or anything because we got knocked out of Wimbledon in the third round that season, which is a bit.
Got beat extra time.
Yeah.
Carl Cole, I think, scored a hat-trick.
Yeah, and that was before Ball had actually left. He scored.
Yeah, he did. It's early in the season. I think that was when was the League Cup two-legged then. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was at that point.
The first round 2 was two-legged, but round 3.
We beat Walsall, didn't we?
Yeah.
We beat Walsall 5-0. We beat Derby 5-0. Then we beat Walsall 5-0 with the reserves.
Aye, because we beat Newcastle 2-1 that season, of course, famously, and we had just a terrible run from Boxing Day till March, 18th of March.
It was Everton. So we got beat 5-0 of Everton. Then we lost 14 games, I think. Went 14 games or something that win, and then beat Everton 2-1.
Wasn't there a game in that period where we played Man United, who were top of the league as well? It was first against second.
That was the year after midweek game. Andy Cole punched it in.
We drew with United 2.
I know for a fact that my brother's will be listening to this, and he'll be going, "Oh, he said this wrong." He'll text us and he'll be like, "You said this wrong. You got this fact wrong." He always does. Whenever I get one small thing wrong, he tells us I've done it wrong.
Right, so shall we wrap this up because we've been talking shite for a long time, and I'm tired, and I want to eat me Sunday dinner on a Monday.
Fair.
Because
I'm having pasta meatballs.
Pasta meatballs. Who's made them? Beth.
No, our dad.
A dad. Nice.
Having our dad's balls. Hopefully our brother's not listening to this. He's in my...
Oh, what a way to end. Right, thank you for listening. You can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blah de blah.
Oh, actually, I don't know if we'll have a YouTube show this week.
Well, we might not.
Because we'll be playing the old football on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, shit.
So I don't think there will be a Roker Rapport TV on Wednesday.
Well, you can look forward to that not happening. Thanks to all of the people that constantly listen and watch and read on Twitter, always interacting with us.
I was actually debating doing my own personal YouTube videos, but I don't know if I can deal with just me looking at the camera.
Right, well, it's not the Conor Bromley show. I was thanking the listeners, but you know.
No, I
since
was wanting feedback on it.
What would it be about? Football? Or
Well, yeah, your son.
okay.
I'm just going to ask the Roker Report. Do you
Who
think
the fuck are you going to bounce off if you just sat in a room by yourself? No one wants to see that, Conor.
that's the feedback I need? And
Well,
then I'll be like,
it's
no, I'll
just
not
a
do it.
stupid idea. Like, if you want to find somebody else to do it, you know.
Yeah, but you're negative about everything.
I'm not really. I'm
Yeah,
just,
but,
I'm just negative about
The
stupid
thing is,
ideas.
the studio we've got in Blythe, which is a pain in the arse for you to get.
Yeah, it is a pain in the arse.
So you can say I can do it with you, but then
I can usually, but it's just easy when we do it here when we're both here.
and out at the uni, the microphone we had last week was shite.
It wasn't.
It was going the whole time. And I had to cut it out, and then it was quiet, and then people were like, oh, it sounds shit. And I was like, well, I did write the sound was shit in the start.
I thought I enjoyed Roker Rapport TV.
Yeah, I did. That was good.
We got a free beer.
Yeah, we did. Oh, Church Lane, yeah, go and eat them, yeah.
Aye.
And I shout out to all of the regulars on Roker Report and such like. Shall we name some
What?
of the nice regulars that populate our news feed? We've got Graham Field's my favourite.
Field up.
I like Field a lot. He's always asked a good, insightful question. It always makes me think. I get a notification if it's Graham. I'm like, put my thinking cap on because.
He always drops it just before like I'm going to bed. Like he obviously must wait like long. He must finish at like 10 o'clock at night or something. Because he always is like 11 o'clock. I missed the one last night. He tweeted both of us, and I missed it because
I replied because I was just getting in for a gig. The DMAs they were brilliant actually. Anybody likes the DMAs? Give me a call.
He took his last out for our birthday.
Did yep.
Those are the days.
Gave her a treat.
Gave her a treat.
Yep.
I treat then, and then when she got in, hey ho.
I couldn't possibly confirm or deny just in case Darren, her dad, listens to the podcast. Dazza, big up Dazza. Right, anyway. Well, on that note, we'll end it there.
Aye.
Right.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.